Welcome to the Making Moves with Mal podcast. In every episode, you'll hear stories from individuals just like you that are trying to make an impact. They'll share their unique journey and some helpful tips that got them to where they are now. You'll hear conversations with people from all walks of life who are trying to make some moves. Now, here's your host, Mal.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Making Moves with Mal. I'm your host here, Mauricio, and today I'm excited to have one of my good friends, Ricardo, to talk about his journey and his experiences through entrepreneurship. So I'm excited to have you on, bro. Thank you for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure.
You know, we've known each other for I think over 5 years at this point.
I think like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years, and dude, your journey is definitely one for the books, man. I've always been intrigued by it. Obviously, as you know, I'm a big fan of what you do.
Thank you.
With the luxury custom suits and everything that you've been through. So I want to know kind of like how it started, bro. I know like, you know, you've been doing this for a while. So share a little bit about your journey of kind of how it started, where you're at now. You
know, it's an interesting thing because first of all, being a custom clothier is not even like a common, you know, job or career that someone goes to school for or even knows about. So it kind of
there's not many here, right? Specifically,
there's not that many here, especially like around my age. You know, there's a lot of people that do custom clothing, but they're a lot older. It's just not as popular as it's gotten popular the past couple of years, but prior to that, it wasn't something that was super popular. So it kind of fell into my lap. I can say that I got pretty lucky in that aspect, but like where it started, where the idea came from, I've always been intrigued by fashion. You know, my mom always taught me that I have to be presentable and dressed the right way, you know, so that I have a good image.
Always looking fresh.
Always trying to look fresh. Yeah, trying when I was little, but you know, I have my biggest passion is music. Even today when I'm designing something for a client, I take into consideration, like, you know, I get inspiration from music, but also I take inspiration from like places, specifically for like wedding clients. You know, I take into consideration like the venue that they're getting married at, you know, their personality, what are some of the things that they like. And that's what I find inspiration. But for me, my personal inspiration has always been music. I dress according to the music that I listen to, which I listen to all kinds of music.
Nice.
And that's really where it started. So I started playing music when I was like in 5th grade. So I don't know what age that is, maybe like 12 years old, 11 years old, around there. And I played classical and jazz. I played the trumpet.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then I self-taught myself how to play piano, guitar. I learned how to play drums from a friend. So music is definitely like my biggest passion.
Musically inclined, dude.
Yeah, definitely awesome. Music inclined. And you know, when I got older, like into high school, I started getting more into jazz, and I'm a big Frank Sinatra fan, and I like the way that those guys dress, the lifestyle that they live, you know, the respect that they had and the image that they had. So I would try to incorporate that look a lot, you know, with myself.
Okay.
And that's really what sparked the whole interest in like being dapper and being dressed up. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at school. You know, I've never been really into school. Not that I'm dumb or anything, but I just, you know, I've never really liked school in general.
I guess it's not for everyone, right?
Yeah, it's not for everybody. And so I was really lost, like where I wanted to go as far as my career. I wanted to go into music, but you know, it's very competitive, and I just didn't see myself long-term wise being in music. And so, you know, in high school, I just didn't know what college I was going to go to, or if I was going to go to college.
Right.
But I've always been very patriotic, and I've always had a love for like the Marine Corps. I always like to challenge myself. And so after high school, I ended up joining the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps for about 4 years. I was a infantry assaultman, so I specialized in like basic demolition and small explosives.
Wow.
So I dealt a lot with like C4, TNT, dynamite.
Damn.
You know, shoulder-fired missile weapons.
A pyro man.
Yeah, no, I definitely like fire for sure. And I guess like I'm a Leo, so it's like a fire sign or whatever. But yeah, so that's what I went into. And my whole thought process was prior to like getting into the military, I wanted to become intelligence for the military because my thought process was going to the military, do intel, and then afterwards probably going to like the CIA or FBI. But military was definitely a cool experience. Yeah. I learned a lot. That's where I say like my work ethic comes from.
For sure. That discipline, that
exactly
that mentality that you need to be. Yeah.
The strong mentality of just like no task is too hard and you never give up on anything. That's where I got that from.
Nice.
And another thing that I learned in the military was like attention to detail. So your uniforms have to be perfectly tailored all the time.
Right.
And so when I got out of the military, I tried out school for 1 year. I went to college for like a year. Still wasn't for me. It just
wasn't for you, huh?
No, it still wasn't for me. And but I still wanted to live the lifestyle. I still wanted to make a good living. And so I thought to myself, what can I do? And I started getting into sales. I worked, telecom. I worked for a lot of different companies. I was a banker at one point. And, the age when I got out of the military, I was around 21, 22. And so I was worried about like how people were going to perceive me. Like, how am I going to get a good job if I look so young and, I carry myself like a young way. Right. And so I was like, I really need to pay attention to like wearing suits and like carrying myself in a different manner. And so I started wearing suits a lot more. And, I'm very.
And at this point, you weren't wearing custom suits, right?
I wasn't wearing custom suits. I was going to Zara. I used to buy my suits a lot from Zara because they had some cool styles. And but the thing that
bothered me, you were looking fresh. You were dressing.
The part, right? I was dressing the part, and I would spend like $200, $300 on tailoring just to make sure my suit would fit perfectly. So,
got it.
You spend about $200, $300 on the suit plus the tailoring. You're about $500, $600 in the hole.
Right.
With the way that I want it to fit. And on top of that, especially when I was a banker, I wore navy blue suits a lot, and I had to replace it twice a year because it would wear out. And so, you do the math, you're spending about $1,000, $1,200 a year on suits.
On just a suit, yeah.
And one of the tailors that I was working with mentioned to me, because I was always really picky about the way my suits fit me. He's like, "Why don't you try a custom suit?" And I was like, "You can do that?" And he was like, "Yeah."
What is that, right?
I'm like, you can do that? And like, it's made for you? And he's like, "Yeah." And so he introduced me to a clothier, and I ended up buying my first custom 3-piece navy blue suit for like $1,500. And I thought the whole thing...
How was that feeling, like getting your very first like custom fitting suit?
It was a cool feeling. Like I said, like the process, the whole idea of it was pretty cool to me, but I didn't enjoy the experience too much. Maybe, I don't know. I felt maybe I was like... I don't think the guy think that I was going to shell out the money to buy a suit.
Oh, yeah,
and so they didn't really take me seriously.
Got it.
And so that's when I was kind of turned off by the people that I was working with. And I was like, I think I could do that better than these guys. I was really inclined to like fashion in general. So, and a lot of friends would ask me, like, "Hey, can you go help me buy a suit?" Cause I would go help them pick out a suit, tell them how it's supposed to be tailored and all that stuff. And so, around that time is like when
you were already seen as like the guy to go to for advice on fashion for the most part.
Yeah, like in my inner circle for sure. Like my friends would, always ask me for like advice on like suits, because I follow the rules to the T and everything. And around that time, it's like when Instagram started kicking off.
Right.
And so all I would post about would be my outfits, my inspiration, and my suits, and talk about like the rules of suiting. And so like I really just kind of branded myself as a suit guy.
Nice.
When Instagram came out. And so I got my first custom suit. I thought the experience was pretty cool, but I thought I could do it better than they could. Yeah. And I was like trying to, my hardest to like find a way, like, how can I get into this? How do I learn about this?
Right.
And
how do you find your way into that business? Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I applied at 2 places that did like custom suiting, and I didn't have any experience at all, so I didn't get the job at all. And I went to go work at I went to go apply at like, a couple of like the big retailers, and the same thing. I just didn't have the experience in clothing retail. And during that time that's when I became a banker, but I was wearing a suit, and I was waiting in line at McDonald's, just getting like a burger, and somebody behind me told me like, "Hey man, I really like your suit." And I was like, "Oh, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it." And we just sparked up a conversation, and he liked my, he liked me as a person, and he was like, "Hey, I'm actually trying to hire a banker right now. You should apply for the job." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, I'm looking for a new job. because I was never happy with what I was doing. And I applied for the job. I became a banker, and it was like a very boring job.
Yeah.
You know, it was really tough for me just sitting at a desk. And, you know, I was 20.
Your style.
Yeah, I was 22, 23 years old at the time. And it just wasn't fun, you know, for me. But I liked the fact that I was wearing a suit every day to work, which was nice. But that's when it really kicked into me, like where image is that important, where, you know, first impressions count. And
yeah, I mean, this guy saw you in line at a McDonald's and was like, hey, this guy looks the part.
yeah, exactly. So then after that, I started getting like the idea of like getting I wanted to open up like a suit shop. It was like something I always talked about. I think I get like my Facebook memories, and I have statuses of me saying like, you know, one day I'm going to open up a suit shop. One day I'm going to open up a suit shop.
Manifesting it, dude.
Yeah. And so, I remember that one of my coworkers, like his dad was, at this point, I think I was working at AT&T. So like all of this has been like happening like within like a year or two of like me getting this idea of like opening up a suit shop. Okay. And then one of my coworkers at AT&T has told me that his dad was like a suit vendor. He would sell off the rack suits to like retailers here in Chicago.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, cool. And so I talked to his dad. I'm like, hey, so how can I buy suits from you so I can sell them? You know, because you have to remember, I was taking my friends to stores to pick out suits. And I was like, man, I'm making these stores money, but I'm not getting anything out of it.
They would go to a store, they would take one off the rack, and then you'd help them get it tailored as well?
Yeah, I would go to the tailor with them. So it was like really, I'm just working.
So that's a pretty long process of.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And again, I'm not getting paid at all for it. You know, I'm just helping out friends.
You're helping out the store make that sale.
Yeah, exactly. Suit, So I was like, you know what, instead of like having these people go to the stores and buy the suits from them, I want them to buy them from me. Yeah. And so I talked to my buddy's dad, and I was like, how can I buy suits wholesale from you? And he just said, you just gotta have a tax ID, you know? And so again, super young, had no idea about anything with business related, you know, but I jumped on the internet, figured out how to register as a business, how to get a tax ID and all that stuff. And I did it like in one night.
There's a will, there's a way, man.
And so I got that done. I showed him my stuff, and I'm like, hey, can I buy suits from you? And I started buying suits from him. So it was like literally like a catalog. They had like this little catalog. They had a bunch of suits that they already had, you know, design and everything. And I would meet up with people and tell them like, hey, these are the suits that I offer. You know, I think I was selling them for like $250 at the time. And they would pick out a suit from there. I would order it, and then the warehouse would ship it to me. And then I would have
to get it tailored, right?
They still have to get it tailored because these are suits that super cheap suits, mind you. They're off the rack fit, and they fit terrible, you know, right off the rack. Okay. So I would meet my clients at a local tailor shop because I didn't know anything about tailoring. I didn't know anything about fittings, but I know visually how a suit is supposed to fit. So the problem that I was running into as well was that I would work with a lot of tailors, and I would tell them like, hey, I want my suit tailored like this, and then, you know, it's an old school, you know, industry. So a lot of the tailors would be like, oh no, that's not how it's supposed to fit. That's too slim and this and that. I'm like, okay, I understand that, but I want it to fit this way. This
is the look that I'm going for. Yeah.
Yeah, and I started noticing that a lot of people had that issue. With tailors. And so when they would buy the suit from me, I would meet them at the tailor shop, like a local tailor shop, and then I would tell the tailor like, this is how it needs to be tailored. That way they're not, you know, going back and forth with the client. And plus I already had a relationship with them, so, you know, whatever I told them, they would do it. You know. But I started realizing that the tailors were making more money than I was.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, as I was bringing them a lot of suits.
Right. More
tailors
alterations.
Expensive. Yeah.
Okay.
So then I was like, okay, I need to cut a deal with the tailor so that I can have a set price on that, and then I can, you know, build it into my price.
The price, right?
And so that's what I started doing. People started having a better experience, and stuff started coming out better. I was making a little bit of money. But the problem was that, first and foremost, I'm a creative individual, right? And so when I meet somebody, I envision them wearing something just naturally. Like I just think of them, like even like with you, like I talk to you, I tell you, you know, obviously I know you really well now. So like, you know, I envision people in certain,
you know my style, you know what I like.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know what'll look best.
Yeah. And so like my selection was very limited, and that's when I wanted to get more into the custom, but it was just so hard to be able to get into the industry because I had no idea about anything. I had no mentor, no nothing. And I just remember like, you know, staying up at late at night after work and just doing my research. And so I started finding vendors and started finding a little bit more about the process. And I did a lot of trial and error on myself at first. And then that's really when the idea of like the Dapper Club came into play, because I was like, okay, like I have, you know, an idea for a business. I have people that are coming to see me. I mean, mind you, not a lot, but enough, you know.
You've built yourself some sort of reputation, at least at this point, where you have a little bit of clientele that you can rely on. Yeah.
And so, you know, the Dapper Club came into fruition. That's where the idea came into play. And I had a completely different vision for Dapper Club before. Again, like I was really in love with like the lifestyle that the Rat Pack guys that, you know, had.
Yeah.
Where they go to dinner, you know, they hang out at Skies. And I wanted like a kind of a hangout spot for guys. And so that's why it's, you know, Dapper means to be clean cut in appearance. The club portion, I wanted people to feel like they belong to someone or belong to something, and then have a place to come to. So what I really like, my long-term vision was to have like a 3-level place where like the first floor was like, you know, all suits and the tailoring.
Okay.
And then if you're a client, you can go to the other levels too, where second level would be like a barbershop and spa for men.
Nice.
And the third level would be like a lounge where, like, you know, as a realtor, you can come, you know, you're away from the office, you can always come and just work out of there, or just hang out and network, you know, with other Dapper Club clients.
It's a cool concept.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a great concept. And just like over the years, you know, you start getting older, you start maturing, you start learning more. You know, over the past, you know, 7 years, I've developed a lot of relationship with a lot of fabric mills around the world. A lot of different factories, a lot of manufacturers, a lot of tailors. I've learned so much from different people in the industry. I learned a lot from my clients as well. So like a lot of the stuff, you know, experiences that clients have had as business owners, you know, I apply that to my life as well. Sure. And now, like with the, you know, pre-pandemic, that Dapper Club was doing, you know, great. It was growing. 2019 was our best year.
Nice.
2020 was like, we had a great kickoff year, you know, a start to the year. And then, you know, obviously we didn't foresee the coronavirus happening. Yeah. You know,
came out of nowhere, man. This the lockdown and everything that happened.
Yeah. So, you know, like a lot of our business is the weddings, you know, and I work with a lot of business professionals as well. Everybody's working from home at this point. All the weddings were canceled for 2020. So it just put us like in a tough spot.
Right.
Yeah. And that was like, you know, that was a year where, like, you know, where they say like your business really takes off after the 5th year. Mm-hmm. That was that 5th year. Yeah. And I was seeing the potential like at the beginning of the year. So I was like super excited. I'm like, you know what, all the sacrifice, all the hard work I put,
it's paying off.
Myself is going to pay off. And then, you know, that happens.
Wow.
So it was, you know, it was, you have to.
So it was a lot of what? Just canceled orders. People just like, hey, I'm not getting married, or it's getting postponed, so we're gonna have to postpone the custom suit. Or
a lot of people were canceling. A lot of people were postponing. And you know, it was tough because we didn't have any revenue for like, you know, 3 months. And you know, I had business partners at the time, and they just didn't see like how we were gonna come out of that.
Right.
And you know, it's understandable.
Yeah.
So, you know, they wanted to part ways with the brand, and, you know, me being, you know, prideful and thinking I can overcome anything, you know, I didn't want to part ways. But the coolest part about, you know, all these events that, you know, kind of led up, you know, I you know, Miriam's my girlfriend, and we've been together for 3 years, and I met her like a little over 3 years ago, like 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, we connected a lot on a lot of different things, but one of the things that we connected on was fashion. You know, she's got great sense of style. And, you know, that 2019, like when my business was like really taking off, I was getting like, you know, super busy. I just didn't have time for anything. And so, you know, she, about 6 months into us dating, you know, I told her, I'm like, hey, why don't you come try it out over here? Help me out with like the business operations side, administrative stuff. And, you know, we were doing a lot of suits for women too, and I kind of needed. I'm an expert in men's fashion, but women's fashion is a whole different thing. Right, it's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, right. So I would make a great like a fitted women's suit, but like the sense of style, like she definitely has a lot more. So, she got involved into the business, and, you know, obviously like a big pivot that we had was we rebranded last year, and a big factor that came. Was because of Miriam. So Miriam, you know, and I started dating about 3 years ago, and or a little over 3 years ago, and we were already doing women's suits, but we were kind of lacking like that feminine touch for like women's suits.
Yeah.
And so one thing that Miriam and I connected a lot in was, you know, fashion in general. So about 6 months of us starting to date, that's when like I was getting super busy, you know, the business was blowing up. And as I just told her, I'm like, hey, like I'm kind of in need of some help over here,
yeah.
you know? So she came over and started helping out with like the operations and administrative stuff. And then I incorporated into the business, you know, full time.
Awesome.
And after that, like our women's side started taking off a lot more. And then one thing that we noticed was that, you know, the guys were very well dressed. All the guys that we dressed up were very well dressed whenever they will go to weddings or events.
Yeah.
But then like their dates would not be complimenting their suit.
Gotcha.
The guys obviously spend a lot of money on their suits, you know.
Right.
One thing she was like, man, like I wish I could make this dress for this person so they can compliment that suit. And I was like, okay, well that's cool. Like we should start incorporating that. And she's like, you know, I want to start making custom dresses. And so during that time period, you know, she started, you know, doing her own research. Doing her own research, like doing trial and error, just like, you know, just how I did when I first started.
Yeah.
But, you know, luckily for her, she had a little bit more guidance, you know, because I already been there. I already done that. And so we you know, she started doing that part on her own, right? Again, like we wanted to implement that into the business, but you know, no one's really gonna buy a dress from the Dapper Club, you know.
Right.
And so that's when we started like thinking we could start a brand for herself, but you know, with how busy the brand was already, like, you know, starting something from scratch, something new, which we wouldn't have the time to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you know, I kind of started falling a lot of love with Dapper Club because I started seeing like a different vision. I learned a lot more in the fashion industry, so I started getting more creative. I wanted to implement more ideas, and you know, unfortunately, like my business partners and I were on the same page. And so, you know, right when the pandemic happened, you know, a lot of our business, you know, slowed down because, you know, it's all weddings or business people, and everybody was working from home. All the weddings were canceled.
Right.
So, you know, nothing was going on, so it was just like a perfect opportunity for us to to be able to, you know, start something new. And so that's what we did. And so we came up with the name Alessandro Pires. Fun fact is that, you know, Miriam and I both have daughters. I have a 6-year-old, she has a 9-year-old, and they both have the same name, Alessandra. So I've always wanted to incorporate that name into like the business somehow.
Yeah.
Pires comes from my last name Perez, but it's in Portuguese, so it just makes it sound fancy.
Okay.
But yeah, we made the name masculine just so that both men and women could buy from it, you know.
Okay.
So that's where the name came from. And you know, with the whole COVID thing that was going on.
So at this point, the Dapper Club is no more, right?
Dapper Club is no more. Yeah, I ended up, you know, separating from my business partners, starting a whole new business, rebranding with Miriam. So, you know, like all that relief money that a lot of people got, like we didn't get that.
Oh, man.
So, you know, we started from scratch. So it's, you know, it was definitely, the COVID was eye-opening as a business owner. And,
right.
You know, you go through a lot of stuff, man. Like, you know, I went through a lot of stuff mentally last year. And, but it's been like an experience where you just learn from things, you know. It's something that instead of like looking at it a negative way, like I'm just take all those experiences, learn from it. You know, I've learned a lot from Miriam. I learned a lot about, you know, the dresses.
Right.
I learned a lot about myself and, you know, what I can do to be able to make this better. And then obviously one thing that we saw was that everything's e-commerce, you know, everything's e-commerce.
Yeah.
So,
right now, I mean, you're on Instagram, you're on any social media, you're getting ads to buy something online. And I mean, I think so many people now, that's their primary way that they get their products now is online. Yeah. Now,
the thing is that people can buy suits online. There's companies that are made to measure companies that you can buy a custom suit online, right? By putting your measurements in, and they send you a suit based off your measurements.
Right.
When it comes to custom suiting, like actual suiting, I mean, it's not just measurements. It's not just numbers. It's all about, you know, the person's posture, person's personality, how all these different factors that simply numbers just can't tell how it's going to fit, you know? So that's why we had a lot of customers bring in suits that they bought online from made to measure companies, and they wanted us to fix it for them because it fit terrible. So it just goes to show that this industry still has a lot of improvement to do, especially when it comes to like an online space. Now, the part where, you know, we realized that with COVID was that we need to get on the online space, but how? You know, I don't want to make a suit for someone just based off of their measurements. It doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what we started doing, what other people are not doing is, yeah, we take your body profile, we take measurements. I mean, obviously we have a lot of data, you know, and experience based on like, you know, someone's height, weight, their body structure,
right,
and, you know, what their measurements are going to be. But when someone buys a suit from us, if someone wants to buy a suit from our website, because we're putting together like our own collection, a collection of suits and a collection of dresses that we want to change seasonally for everybody. But when someone buys a suit from us online, you know, they create their profile online, and based on their profile, they have to submit pictures of themselves as well. Then we send them what's called a basted fit or a test suit. Okay, so this suit is going to be made out of house fabric based on the measurements.
It's very generic.
Yeah, very generic. It's not even going to be finished. Like it'll be like, you know, like half made. And we send it directly to your house. And then that person will be able to try on the suit that they, you know, that we made for them, that test suit for them. They log into the account on our website, submit pictures of the front, side, and back of how their suit fits. Along with like some feedback, you know, like how does the waist feel? How does the seat feel? How does the jacket feel? And they can tell you like, oh, this fits just right. Or, you know, I feel a little tight from here, or I feel a little loose. They can make all these kind of adjustments, you know, before we even actually make the suit. So when they upload that information onto their profile online, then we review it, and, you know, we have our tailor workshop make the adjustments based on how that fit you. Now with those adjustments, when we make the actual suit that you bought, then we ship it out for you with all those new adjustments.
So the final product that they already received should be 99% accurate to what they've already envisioned based on the
it should be fairly accurate. And it gets better too. It's kind of like a barber, right? First time I went to go see my barber, like, you know, my haircut was probably like 98% there, right? But probably the first time I'm working with him, now he knows my hair. Next time, now he knows how I like it. Give him some feedback. Next time I go see him,
does a better job.
Better job at my haircut. And the third time and after that, you know, I don't have to worry about it anymore. True. You know, I could just sit in the chair and I tell him what I need, and he already knows what I want.
Yeah.
Same thing with the suiting stuff, you know. So the suit will fit pretty accurately after you do that test fit. But if it doesn't, then we offer you a $75 credit to go to a local tailor and to make the adjustments. And obviously, we will give you feedback on, like, you know, this is what we think what changes should be made if it needs to come down to that. But obviously, whatever changes you make from there, you know, we upload it to your profile. So the next time you order a suit, you know, you're good to go already. So
you already have those measurements in style, and you already know what it's going to fit like the next time for the next suit.
So this is not creating a made to measure, you know, so this is creating like an online bespoke experience. Okay. Like having a suit like really made specifically for you. So, you know, again, there's people that buy suits online from made to measure companies. These numbers and these measurements can't create a perfect fitted suit.
Right.
But where we come into place, where we make a test suit for you first, and then based off of that, we make the adjustments that we need to make, and then we deliver. You can already
visually see what needs to be changed. Yeah.
So it just creates a better online experience, and, you know, obviously we've been trying it out like in person with people, like creating these test suits and then doing the fittings in person just to see, you know, refining the measurements and refining the process. So right now, you know, we're still operating by, you know, doing in-person consultations. I do a lot of Zoom consultations as well. But the goal is to be able to become 100% online.
Yeah. And one of the cool things for you guys is that you've already built some good rapport with just the, you know, the luxury fashion kind of industry, right? Because you've worked with some pretty high-end clientele in the past, kind of all throughout the US, right?
Yeah. So the cool thing is that, we've developed clientele in the West Coast, the East Coast, the Southeast. So pre-pandemic, we would do a lot of trunk shows where we would go to different cities and set up like fittings. Okay. So we have clientele all over the US, which is dope. Especially like all around the Midwest. Like, I mean, we have people that just fly in just to come see us.
That's awesome.
So we want to be able to cater to all those people without having to create that extra, you know, expense for them.
Stuff for them to come. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just create like a full like online experience. And yeah, like over the past 7 years, you know, I've developed a relationship with a lot of these fabric vendors, and, we carry the best fabrics that you can have, like Holland, Sherry, and Laura Piana, and Scabal, Dorme. And, all these people, they've gotten to know me, and some of these high-end fabric vendors, like, you have to be in business for a certain amount of years. You have to be well-known. You have to do a certain amount of sales, even just for them to work with you, because, they'll hold that at that,
they're
that
that
level.
exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, there's fabric vendors that, make the suits for like some of the biggest celebrities, and that's the same stuff that we're using. So like when people come in and, say like, oh, I only want to get like a Tom Ford suit. I'm like, okay, well, high respects to Tom Ford. I'm a big fan of Tom Ford, but, the quality that you're getting with us is going to be, if not the same or even better. But you're not going to be paying that Tom Ford price tag,
Yeah.
Still pricey, right? But
yeah. I mean, it is a luxury product.
It's a luxury product, yeah.
Not everybody can afford that like not everyone lives that lifestyle where they can comfortably afford a custom suit or custom clothing in general, right? So
yeah, and I'm really big with it. Like yeah, I know our products, are can be pricey for some people, but I'm big on educating my clients. Like, hey, this is a suit that you're gonna buy one time, and you're gonna be able to wear it for 10 years. And so that's the biggest selling point, because like I'm big on keeping a smaller closet, not having a bunch of different stuff, but having high quality stuff that's going to last you a long time,
a lot longer,
that you can really wear, because you want to think about it at cost per wear, right?
Right.
If you buy something for $100 and you only got to wear it twice, because after that it's shrunk, or it doesn't, it came undone or something like that, then your cost per wear there is $50 per wear.
Okay. Yeah.
Versus if you spend, let's say $2,000 on a suit and you wore it, 200 times. I don't know what the math is on that, but I'm pretty sure the cost per wear is a lot
lower. Yeah, for sure.
So that's how I try to educate my clients on it. Like,
makes sense.
Yeah, you're paying a little bit more, but you get what you pay for.
Yeah, it's all about the quality and the
100%.
fabrics and everything, right? Okay, perfect, man. So I got a question for you, man. So obviously, you went through some changes during the pandemic. You had a shift in your business, and obviously you rebranded, and it's a completely new business at this point. What would you say was the one thing that motivated you to kind of keep things going? Like, because anybody could have at that point called it quits and be like, you know what, this isn't working. I think I'm better off working for somebody else, going to a 9-to-5 or whatever. But you held on and you kept going. Like, what made you decide to keep that going?
It's a really good question. It's something that I answer to myself every single morning, because I mean, especially through the pandemic, it was a tough time, and it was a tough time for a lot of people. But speaking from my side, it was tough mentally. I fell into like a deep depression, and I have like severe anxiety. And what motivated me to keep going is, one, I'm super hard headed, and I just don't give up, and I have a lot of pride. But second of all, most of all, my family. Miriam's been a great support system, and she's been there through thick and thin, and like some rough times, and she's been there for the really good times. And my kids, I mean, pretty sure they motivate you too, but like kids give you motivation like no other. So it's a constant battle, and something that I talk to a lot of people that are business owners or want to become business owners. It's not for everybody. You have to really be really strong mentally, because I mean, a lot of people see the success, that people have, but they don't see like the behind the doors.
Yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg. They don't see what's
exactly.
underneath.
They don't see like the long hours. They don't see like the times where you're like wanting to pull the hair out of your head, and it gets rough. It gets dark sometimes, but you just got to keep going. And like I said, it's not for everybody, but luckily I have a great support system, and I just have like a vision, and I have a goal, and I just don't know how to quit. And when I put my mind on something, like I make sure I make it happen no matter what.
Yeah, and I do think that's key, man. Having a good support system to keep you motivated to do what you're gonna do, right? Whether that's family, close friends, whoever, right?
Yeah.
So that's an awesome point that you made there.
Yeah.
Now, with you going online, being able to offer this to kind of all 50 states, where do you see the vision of Alessandro Pires now moving forward?
Right now, the vision, because again, like this, it's crazy. Like, Dapper Club started off as one idea. 2 years ago, completely different than what I wanted it to be, for the better. right? So things evolve as time goes. So right now, the vision for Alessandro Pires is to be a brand that offers custom suiting and formal wear for men, and then custom bridal wear and formal wear for women. Okay. We want them to be,
so a bride and groom can go to you for
yeah,
both.
yeah, and the beauty of it is that, you know, like the groom will work with me, the bride will work with Miriam. We both understand what the vision is for them, and you know, like there's that big thing of like, you know, they can't really know about what they're wearing, which is totally cool because Miriam and I
yeah.
do know what they need to, and so we work together, you know, on that. And so right now we got the custom suits for men, formal wear for men, custom bridal wear. We're gonna go online with both of them. That's really like the thing that I'm just kind of starting off with right now. I don't want to bite more than I can chew.
Yeah.
But you know, hopefully 5 years from now, you know, we're catering to all 50 states online. You know, I want to continue growing my team. Go international for sure.
Okay.
But you know, just want to create some like really great collections of suits. You know, really get to show my creativity and my artistic side in the suits that I design. Miriam wants to do the same thing, and let's see where the brand goes. But right now, just kind of starting small, getting the online platform set up, continue to bring in revenue for the business, and grow from there.
It's all about building a strong, you know, foundation at the end of the day, right? Like getting that going, and that momentum will kick in, and things will just start kind of escalating for you. So that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
One final thing here. What is one piece of advice you would give somebody that either wants to become a business owner or wants to get into the fashion industry, or maybe, you know, likes what you do and wants to kind of follow your footsteps? What's one piece of advice that you would give either a young professional or somebody just starting off?
Yeah. Probably the thing that I wish I had from the beginning was a mentor.
A mentor?
Yeah. And I think it's really important for people to surround themselves around the right individuals. I've been in situations where I did not surround myself around the right individuals, and it influenced a lot of decisions that I made, both, you know, personally and professionally. So having the right group of individuals around you is like really, really important, you know, because they put you in the right mentality. Second would be to, you know, along with those individuals, finding a mentor, you know, a mentor that can be able to teach you about the industry, or at least about business in general. And, you know, really listen to those people, because, when I first started, I didn't have anybody, you know, I just kind of was going with the flow. And, you know, as you know, like when you start a business, you take a lot of punches, right?
You do. Yeah. And you wear many hats, man. You
wear many hats. And so it's hard to really understand like how to run the business, or, you know, what direction to go to. So having a mentor helps a lot with that. And I can see it because, you know, like I told you, I've met a lot of clients that are successful business owners, or, you know, business executives, and I've taken a lot of advice from them, and I apply it in my personal life or in my business life. And, you know, it's helped my brand grow a lot more. So I've seen the benefit in it with me when I had a mentor. And then, you know, same thing with Miriam. Even though we're in a relationship, you know, I have a lot of experience in this. And so when she's taken off her side of the business, and she learned a lot from me, and it helps her out a lot too. And, you know, we've had, you know, people that work under us, and they necessarily don't want to like be here long term. They want to kick off like their own brand, their own, you know, clothing brand. But, you know, they intern with us, and then they get to learn, and they do their own thing. So like having a mentor and like surrounding yourself around the right people will help you get a lot further in life and in business. And then just dedication and discipline. Yeah.
Keys, man, for sure, dude.
Yeah.
Well, no, this was definitely eye opening, man. I'm glad you got to share your story with us, and got to see a little bit of like the vision of, you know, how you got to where you are now. And, you know, I can see where the trajectory is going for you with, you know, what the plans you have coming up for the new brand. So I'm excited for the future, man. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, me too, man.
Thank you again for coming on, and thank you guys for listening.
No,
see you next time.